As we go to air this morning, major population centres are on alert, with Sydney facing a catastrophic fire danger for the first time. The RFS says Greater Sydney, the Greater Hunter and the Illawarra Shoalhaven areas all face a catastrophic fire condition today. Catastrophic is the highest danger rating. The RFS says it's as bad as it gets and it's off the conventional scale. If you are in an area facing this fire danger, leave early, and that is the only option available to you. Do not wait to see what happens. If a fire takes hold in these conditions, lives and homes will be at risk. Peter Stefanovic is live in Taree for us this morning, where we begin our coverage. Pete?
Yeah, good morning to you, Laura. You quite rightly pointed out that it is catastrophic right across the Greater Sydney region today, but here in the mid-north coast and the north coast of New South Wales, not quite catastrophic, the next rung down. Things are very serious. It's classed as extreme today, particularly around the areas of Wauchope and Port Macquarie. Now in Wauchope from the RFS Command Centre, the federal member for Lion, David Gillespie, joins me live now. Good morning to you, David. Thanks very much for joining us this morning. What are you being told about the conditions ahead?
My pleasure, Pete. Well, you've only got to look around you. You can see the dense smoke that's blanketing Wauchope and the Hastings Valley. We have fires to the north, northwest and to the south, all down the coast and into the mountains, which are spreading and have coalesced in many areas. So if there is a wind change, it could be getting quite dicey if it were to spread in the way that there is the great potential for it. But the preparations have been amazing. No stone has been left unturned. There's so much logistical support here. 5 huge reserve tankers have rolled into town to support the amazing people that have been fighting and managing these fires. And all the communities that I've been to, whether it's in Johns River, down in Taree, up here in the Hastings, they're all gelling together. People in the evacuation centres are doing a fantastic job, and we just hope that the weather doesn't turn as bad as it potentially could.
We have had months and months of warning that things were going to be bad, David, but you know, as we saw on Friday, 150 homes were lost. There were 3 lives that were unfortunately lost as well. Do you believe that there are enough resources in place and have been enough resources in place?
Look, there's been an enormous amount of firefighting kit, helicopters and planes up here on the north coast. We've had hundreds of firefighters come in from Tasmania, from Canberra, from in Sydney. Extra mobile units have come up to the north coast. As I said, there's all these extra reserve tankers and pumps and supplies that are in place. I can't think how much more they could have put in, because they've got the whole state as well to cover. And as the problem at the moment is the number of fires that have spotted in a wide area. I mean, there's 16,000 square kilometres of Lion electorate, and there are fires to the north, the south, and even on the eastern coastal strip, which is where they've impacted on places like Old Bar and Tanoni and the areas around Taree where you are. It's been
David,
diabolical and has stretched them as far as they can.
David, your
Yes,
colleague Barnaby Joyce mentioned yesterday that it was the policies of the Greens that have increased the bushfire threat. Do you agree? Well, look,
things have changed over the last 35 years. The way vegetation has been managed did change about 30 years ago, at least in New South Wales. Controlled burns in cold weather times used to be a feature of a lot of land management, whether it was forestry or parks or private property. But there are a lot of bureaucratic barriers and outright prohibition of a lot of that. And a lot of the old forestry people that I know in town here, and a lot of the old farmers and even Indigenous who have used fire management to shape the landscape over the last 40,000 years, it is a different dynamic. So we've been in a very prolonged drought. We have huge amounts of fuel, and if the weather changes with high winds, the whole dynamic could flare up yet again. So look, Barnaby's points, I agree, there are changes in vegetation management which make hazard reduction burning or control burns in cold weather much more difficult. And when all this emergency is over, we don't want to be talking about things like that now. We just want to focus on the here and now, and that is supporting people and thanking all our bushfire fighters for the amazing job that they've done.
But I mean, you do say that, but the fight is already underway. It involves Michael McCormack, it involves Barnaby Joyce as well. Do you believe now is the right time to be having a fight with the Greens, to be having a war with the Greens?
Look, I'm focusing on the here and now here in my electorate. We've got areas at risk all over the district, north, south, east and west, and we are hoping that the weather is our friend and it isn't as bad as projected. Those comments are reasonable comments, but like I said, I'm focusing on the here and now.
Do you believe that climate change is causing these bushfires?
Well, droughts have been a feature of Australian weather. Things do vary over time. I've lived in this valley long enough that I've seen major bushfires, but at the moment the challenge has been that there are fires across many areas that are coalescing, and it has stretched resources beyond what is normally the case. They can manage with 2 or 3 fires, but when you've got 17 major fires across this stretch of the north coast, it really does challenge things, and that's why so much extra logistics has come in. It was great to have the Prime Minister here, Scott Morrison, and Gladys Berejiklian, and as Gladys and Scott have outlined, we have put all the logistical support that the Defence Force can provide is on call. The state government has provided every sort of support that the Rural Fire Service has asked for. The SES has been mobilised, and Gladys Berejiklian has also declared a state of emergency to give the Rural Fire Service Commissioner all the powers that he needs.
But just to clarify, do you believe that this is as a result of climate change, these bushfires starting so early in the season?
Well, look, it's a dry period with a lot of fuel and with lightning strikes, which have been happening forever. These sort of fires do occur across wide areas, whether that's due to the climate change or just variability. But like I said, not only has the climate changed, but our vegetation management laws have changed, and that's why you have so much more fuel available to burn when you haven't had controlled burns.
All right, Federal Member for Lyne, David Gillespie, appreciate your time this morning, and as you do mention, conditions are expected to worsen later on today, especially when that southerly buster comes through, so that is the primary concern for the authorities today, Laura.